The last new Civic has been revealed, the Chosen, allowing you a fast track to major patron attunement. We've also got a look at a bunch of Psionic advanced governments, which are crazy. And finally, we have the full 4.1 patch notes for the patch and update coming on Monday. And they're nerfing monuments. No, let's get into it. Chosen Civics. The Chosen set of Civics act as a fast track to forming accords with a major patron of your choice. As you can see here, every empire has access to a type of the Civic. For a normal empire, it will block all ascension paths except for psionic ascension. Influenced by the Shroud in their early history, the society is bound to a pact of patronage with a powerful entity. You will start in contact with a Shroud patron, and you get the additional certain technology, Psionic Aura. So you start with auras. Interesting. Modifiers. Psionic Aura intensity gain a +10. And you gain Unity, scaling with attunement to the Shroud. Interesting. So this could be a new Unity Civic other than parliamentary systems. And the council position. Shroud Speaker. The Empire effects per skill level is a resource produced from bureaucrats plus 2%, which is interesting because you can make bureaucrats produce science, so you could buff that up potentially. It's available for officials, and you have to be some degree of spiritualist, and you can't have all these civics and origins, including Endbringers and Mind Wardens, and you cannot add or remove this after the game has started. For Megacorp, the flavor has been changed, and instead of bureaucrat output, you're getting trade produced from bureaucrats plus 10%. Do bureaucrats produce trade for them? I'm not sure. Then for the Hive, it's the same. However, it gives growth node experience scaling and the same for machines. Shortly after starting, you'll be able to select which major patron has selected your people. The Chosen. We've always known it. An ethereal connection with an entity we can neither define nor understand. We feel its presence in our deepest thoughts. It lingers, always somehow out of reach. It is both a certainty and an impossibility in our minds. For as long as we have historical records, this mysterious thing has been there. That it has chosen us is clear, but for what remains, unknown. By what name should we call this sensation? So you get those 4 choices. There's Composer of the Strands, the Eater of Worlds, the Cradle of Souls, and the Instrument of Desire. After making your choice, you'll gain attunement with your patron and begin with their first accord. Your innate connection to the Shroud lets you view the Shroud UI, though you will not be able to delve into the Shroud itself until you progress through Psionic Ascension. Makes sense. So you got the Shroud panel, but you can't delve. The Composer of the Strand beckons. Throughout our history, the ineffable entity we know as the Composer of Strands has been with us. Now, as the vast expanse of the galaxy awaits, we feel its presence in our minds like never before. It lingers, drawing us closer. With the proximity, we notice, for the first time, the true contours of this deep and mysterious void within our own minds. The Composer of Strand beckons us in, tempting us with experiences beyond our comprehension. Finally, we understand how to visit this ethereal domain of our own volition. Our horizons expand inward. You can see we actually have, I think that's the aura tech in the bottom 2, and we already are on the first, I don't even know what that was called, but I think it's a buff. Once you breach the Shroud, you'll be greeted by the major patron with whom you have traditionally been affiliated. Composer of Strands, the Shroud. It flows high beneath our known reality, the shadow cast by darkness. Though we have long ventured into the psionic realm, our earlier forays were only tentative. Now, after years spent wearing down the veil between dimensions with our combined minds, we sense it clearly enough to explore with purpose. On the other side, our efforts have not gone unnoticed. The Composer of Strands awaits us. Unfurl, enwrap, expand. In this maelstrom of countless entities, its clarity is a promise. We shall return. Having a way paved for you makes things easier, and while you start with a head start tuning towards your chosen patron, you are not required to form a covenant with them. Those who took this easy way are, however, unable to forge their own path. The Shroud. Covenant proposed. As our minds sink into the Shroud, a presence blooms within us. We sense a glow that touches all things, radiating order and balance. It is the Cradle of Souls, and it stirs us to our core. It wants no less than enduring peace, a galaxy cured of its chaos. If we share its vision, it can forge us into bringers of harmony. It promises a bond of unbreakable trust. If only we let it shape our horizons, the hopes of the Cradle press upon us. So we have those 3 options: form a covenant with the Cradle of Souls, reject the covenant and leave, or we will forge our own path. Now, you can't do this if you have the Chosen Civic, because you chose this at the start. We hadn't mentioned it before when we initially revealed accords and covenants, but sometime after initially forming a covenant with a patron, you have an opportunity to confirm or renounce it. Oh, okay. Confirmation. Some time has passed since we established the foundation of a covenant with the Cradle of Souls. Our bond is still weak, so we still have a chance to break it or to strengthen it. Our telepaths have determined that confirming the pledge will allow us to actively draw on powers provided by our patron, as well as providing enhancements to our fleets and Psionic Aura. You can confirm the Covenant, which will give us mark of the Cradle tech, confirm the Covenant with the Cradle of Souls, bonus effect, faction resource output per 100 telepaths plus 5%, that's quite good. Unlock this patron's Covenant powers, which can be activated for beneficial effects after a cooldown. Tech progress skin, Psionic Aura intensification 10%. You can also renounce it, and I think that's something about our own path as the third option. Mark of the Cradle is an A slot tech. I don't know if we actually have that. We do not currently have a Mark of the Cradle, but we have Mark of the Composer, Mark of the Instrument, and Mark of the Whisperer, which give all sorts of buffs like hull and armor regen, chance to hit, sublight speed evasion. So this potentially does something different. Scraps of Power. Our patron, the Cradle of Souls, has deposited a fraction of its energy in a fold of the shroud, ready for the taking. Our close bond will allow us to safely absorb this power. A number of candidates have been selected, but only one of them can be granted the privilege to wield the power of our patron. We must decide who it shall be. And then you've got a bunch of your leaders. I believe this is the Chosen, but slightly different. Ascended. It is done. As the power was invested in Dolores Wawanga, all those around could feel the weight of its silent presence. It is powerful and commands respect. She will now be the immortal champion of the Cradle of Souls. They get all negative traits removed, they get psychic trait removed, but they gain the Chosen of the Cradle trait, granting the following effects. This leader is immortal, and the Councillor gets 30% faction output and 10 diplomatic acceptance. The acceptance could go crazy for spamming vassals. So it looks like we've got different types of Chosens now. I like that. If you're thinking about buying Shadows of the Shroud or any other Paradox DLC or game, make sure to use mine or another creator's code or link. My code is EP3O Stellaris, that's case sensitive, or my link is in the description and pinned comment. Gives us creators a kickback at no extra expense for you, and you just get a Steam code from Paradox themselves. It's much appreciated. Now back to the video. Moving on to Psionic Advanced Governments. During one of the delves into the Shroud itself may ask you a series of tarot-style questions. Your answers will reshape your empire. Sonic responses. Our thoughts move through the Shroud with newfound intent. As we push, it pushes back. At first, we interpret this as resistance to our presence, but now we understand the Shroud is asking questions of us. Though hazy in meaning, these questions are not trivial. According to our telepaths, the answers we give will influence the future of our society. Okay, so it's kind of like one of those BuzzFeed quizzes to get the different government types. Shroud Song, Death. A link to the Shroud is strong. We are ready when it calls. The message comes in rhythmic phrases. The Shroud is singing to us. An image forms in our mind's eye. We see death. At death, stars can shine brighter than galaxies. These things, too, shall fade. Then you got two options. Death will no longer concern us, or all things die, few things live. We get the song The Nebula. Something unseen shifts, and with a whisper another thought is birthed. An image forms in our mind's eye. We see the nebula. A star dies, shedding dust. The dust forms a cloud. From the cloud, a star is formed. The star's fate is dust. The cycle is endless, or everything must end. Shroud Song Energy. Something unseen shifts, and with a whisper, another thought is birthed. An image forms in our mind's eye. We see energy. An object in motion chooses to rest. What should be its punishment? Yeah, that's, as a physicist, that's very bad. Don't do that. Who are we to judge? An equal but opposite reaction. I like that reference too. I don't know if you get all three of these. I hope it tells you what you're doing when you hover over them. Otherwise, we're going to have to load up the wiki if you're aiming for a certain government type. Psionic Transcendence. The Shroud grows silent, but a psychic weight has fallen upon our society. The answers we have given have offered new opportunities, should we choose to pursue them. Our ascending minds are primed for further transformation. The vessels that serve as important to the physical needs of the mind could become much less significant. If we continue down this path, our population can transcend its concern with physical matters and commit itself fully to a partial existence inside of the Shroud. A reduced capacity for physical labour will be a small price for gains in mental acuity. Let's embrace psionic transcendence. We can flourish without changes. So that will be embracing the government that the questions have led you to, or staying the same, I would presume. The questions may vary, so they could be random. My United Chosen of Earth end up as a transcendent democracy. The individualist organic transcendent governments are, so there's a transcendent for all types. So we have democracy, or a hyperlane range goes up, elites and specialist jobs go up with psionic, but job efficiency goes down. What? So that's not really above? Like it is to your specialists and elites, I guess. Yeah. Psychic traits gains 3% council agenda speed, and faction output 40%, leader lifespan 20, and less leader maximum traits, and you get faction output and edict fund, which is the same as democracy. Transcended aristocracy. You get the rage, the buffs. Wait, are all the buffs exactly the same? No. It is up until psychic traits gain 3% council agenda speed, get effective council skill 1, more XP, less leader upkeep, election terms the same, and resources produced from telepaths minus 10% 5 years after every election. Interesting. Transcended theocracy is the same again, but telepaths give edict fund +1. Politicians are replaced by high priests. Resources produced by priests 15%, and enforcers, and you get 50% spiritual ethic attraction. Transcended Imperium is the same again up until Imperial Air gains additional effects. Scientists get +2 on rifts and archaeological sites. Officials get more stability, and commanders have 10% hull points and sublight speed. That's quite good. Whenever the Imperial ruler or heir levels up, gain unity and 50% improve relations, harm relations, shroud attunement, but you get +20 crime. It's weird that some of these have negatives and some of these don't, on top of the worker job efficiency. Finally, the Megacorp Empire. Again, the same, but telepaths give 2% more trade, get 1 code breaking, 20% less operation influence costs, 20% branch office value, and 1 envoy. So there's a very mixed bag for each type of the same transcendent. Other answers would have led us to corporeal variants. Spiritual union. You get psionic aura effectiveness 25%. You get the psionic choir policy. No idea what that does. 10% happiness, 10% faction output, -10% empire size from psionic pops, 10% unity, 50% pop political power. Podocracy. Again, it's the same up until the choir. Leader starting skill level +2, -25% upkeep, -15 leader recruitment age. Leaders start with an additional negative trait. What? Again, why does this have a negative and the other one doesn't? Remember, when you do get corporeal, you can just switch between any of these. You're not locked into democratic if you were democratic, so you could switch if it's too bad. Ordained autocracy. Again, the same till choir. +1 edict fund from telepaths, 25% council speed, and less agenda cooldown. That's nice because sometimes you just run out of agenda speeds if you max them out. And upkeep for spirit mediums reduced. Imperium Vitalis. Again, the same till choir. This is a chunky one. Imperial Egg gains 3000 XP whenever they take the throne. Wow. Sonic Aura effectiveness per 100 telepaths +1%. Pretty good if you're going auras. Envoy improve 50. Harm 50. Attunement 50%. Effective ruler skill +2. Council skill +1. Leader lifespan +10. But big negatives. Job efficiency for silent pops -20%. Pop growth speed -5%. Mechanical pop speed -5%. Why does this have such negatives? And then the board of psychics. Trade per 100 telepops +2%. You get the psionic offices holding. Less branch office influence cost by 40%. That's insane. Agenda early launch cost -25%. Agenda cooldown -25%. And leader XP gain +25%. What? These are all like so different and there's negatives? Interesting. Gestalts also have some authorities. For Hive's Transcendent Ether Mind. Sonic Aura Hyperlane range +2. Sonic species trait grants additional effects. The elite and complex 10%, but menial -10. Leaders gain 200 experience after each delve. Oh my word, that's insane. +10% stability, +10% complex drone output, -10% empire size, and -10% habitability. That one seems really good. The negative of the habitability doesn't really matter, especially as you'll be ascending bit later in the game. Sonic Nexus. Sonic Aura effectiveness +25%. Available policies, Sonic Choir, -0.01% upkeep from jobs per attunement point. That can go up quite a lot, I think. Maybe that's why it's 0.01. 10% stability, 30% agenda speed, and 30% agenda effect duration. Okay, both those Hive ones are good. They're both very good. Transcendent Mainframe. Sonic Aura Hyperlane range +2. We have the same with the 10% and -10% for the elites and the menials. 0.01% research speed per attunement point. What? That can go crazy if you've got lots of attunement. Gain random research every time you delve? What? Okay. Subroutine upkeep per 100 teleports -5%. Wow. Council agenda speed +25%. Here's where it gets balanced. Pops with the Psionic trait gain 15% upkeep, and research station output goes down by 20%. That doesn't really matter. You don't really get much science from them. Psionic Grid. Psionic Aura effectiveness 25%. You get the Psionic Choir policy, which again, we don't know what it does. Psionic Aura effectiveness per 100 coordinators +1%. Council agenda speed 25%. Job efficiency for complex drone 10%. Leader upkeep reduction -50%. But upkeep for coordinators goes up by 30%. Again, that negative. If you don't have many coordinators, it doesn't matter. And the buffs are quite good. Now we do have the patch notes. I will skim through the main things. We don't need to go over the DLC stuff because we've done that a lot of the patches. Now, in terms of features, there's been a significant improvement to Planet UI, which we have looked at. It makes better use of horizontal space, even at our lowest resolutions, hopefully at 4K too, because that is an issue. City sets and environments have been re-explored at higher resolutions to reduce blurriness. Surface tab, build queue is always visible. More information in the planet summary, including the planetary decision button. Oh, we're going to have to get used to things moving around again, but it does sound good. Multiple buildings can be sequentially added to the build queue. Yes, because if you click it in the same building section and then you want to keep building there, it just disappears. It's so annoying. New district specialization icons, management tab, added monthly pop growth, including growth, migration, and assembly information with pie charts coming back. Rework the current population information to show more and clearer information about your pop groups. Pops are now sorted by species. All of these have been been stuff people have been complaining about. I'm very happy. Economy tab. Added workforce summary providing more easily accessible information. Pie charts back. Improved tooltips for jobs, which now show the total production and upkeep of all pops working that job instead of just showing the pop-based production output. That's really nice. Holding Alt will show estimates for 100 pops working that job in these tooltips, allowing better job-to-job comparisons. Very nice. Army tab. Recruitment is now part of the main window, and holdings mostly just arrangement changes. Pretty nice. Fulham Shipyard planetary feature now gives 1 miner per 25, not 1 per 4. Don't think I ever had that. Combining planetscapers and arc welders will only spawn blockers that block a single district. Planetscapers will now spawn 2 different blockers on your homeworld instead of maybe getting away with less or more. Saver guilds and indented assets now provide job efficiency for slaves. These civics no longer enslave a percentage of your population. We intend on revisiting them in a future update to find a better way to fulfill their fancy. Okay, that's weird. So you're going to have to go and get slaves, or an origin that starts with slaves, I guess, or a second species. But you get job efficiency. Leaders governing planets and sectors now gain 10 XP whenever planetary infrastructure, district specialization, or buildings are constructed. If a planet has a local governor and a sector governor, the local governor will take priority. That's nice, a way to level them up a bit faster. Rural support district specializations that add trade upkeep to farmers, miners, and technicians now scale better on ring worlds since ring world districts have as many jobs. Okay, so the support stuff's buffed on them. Necromancers now produce society and engineering research instead of physics and society. Okay, don't really care. Removed automation from telepath jobs. You cannot automate telepathy efficiently. Wow. Planetary ascension cost reduction is now capped at 90% because people are going negative and getting Unity. Reduce the initial power of resource consolidation, but allow the origin to ignore the tech requirements for machine world ascension pick. Interesting. So it's not as strong to start, but you don't need the machine world ascension perk to make it a machine world. Buff dread camps to provide additional research production and upkeep to necromancers. Necrophage buffs. The computation core focus policies now affect job efficiency for selected jobs instead of planetary production of selected resources. That's nerfing the build I showed off like last week. Hive Sensorium sites now require the cultural heritage technology. Hive minds can now research this technology. These are essentially the Hive equivalent of monuments. Oh no. Cultured heritage technology now requires planetary unification instead of being a starting tech. That means we don't get monuments at the start of the game, which means every single video I've done in 4.0 no longer will work with the start. I mean, it can work. You just won't build the monument first. You're going to need planetary unification tech, which is that Unity one, making that tech quite good. But the power of the monument was that you built it early to make use of the civilians on your planet, and then it kind of drops off. So monuments are now trash because you can't build them straight away. You probably want to build some minerals or just city districts, which is a bit sad. I like the monument. Heritage site is now tier 2 instead of tier 1. So the upgraded version, you need tier 2 tech 2. And hypercorn form technology is now more expensive, which is the monument. They nerf monuments. There's a whole host of bug fixes. You can check them out for yourself in the dev diary, which is linked in the description. There's some performance changes, UI changes, AI changes, and a few modding changes. Hopefully this keeps pushing 4.x in the direction to become better than 3.x. I do see the vision. We'll see how it runs in 4.1. Hopefully it's a lot better, and these fixes are starting to get us to a more unified, balanced game, but we'll see. The release is going to be Monday. Make sure to subscribe and put the notification bell on so you can watch all the content I've got planned for that week. I'm also going to be streaming on Sunday early access of this DLC and patch, so I'll see you then too. The next dev diary is also planned for October the 2nd, which is probably the next DLC that they'll talk about. Go watch the video YouTube's recommending you. I'll see you then. Goodbye.